what we're going to talk about is we're going to take you through the principles of how we create content at Blackbullion. Then we're going to look at what's been happening in the content world at Blackbullion. So updates, you'll have seen that the assessments have been changed, so we'll go into that and why. And then we're going to pick your brains in order to help us find a new topic for the mastery topics.
Just kind of top level, how we think about structuring our learning platform is we try and consider it from a kind of hierarchical perspective. So for example, if we're going to teach about the importance of a certain type of savings account, so for example like an instant savings account, then we understand the user needs to know, okay, well, what is a bank account? What is the purpose of a bank account? And they need to know a little bit of background information on that itself. But again, before they really can fully appreciate the point of an account or current account, they also need to know, again, a step above that, what is savings? What does it mean to save? What are the principles that underlie savings? So we start with the basics and then dig slowly deeper and deeper. And I think when you're teaching or when you're thinking about learning, it's important not to assume any knowledge. So thinking very hierarchically, going step by step through something slowly, just to make sure you're guiding learners through the process of engaging with the content. Kind of helps them make sure you don't leave anyone behind or miss anything out as you're working through a piece of learning. Our aim is obviously to make a measurable impact on users. It's one thing for someone to sit through a module or to sit through a lesson. It's very much another thing for them to actually take something away and then use something in their everyday life. So to actually engage with it beyond watching something on the platform or beyond sitting in the classroom learning something. So we go through this 3-step kind of process. So we start with learn. So how we introduce users to learning is maybe they watch an animation, or they listen to narration, or they read a piece of content, or they follow up with an additional resource. They use one of our calculators. So coming at learning from a bunch of different angles, just to make sure that users are able to have they're kept kind of stimulated, so they're not just looking at one type of thing. We try and vary the type of content that they engage with. And then how do we try and encourage users to actually remember what they've done or what they've learned? Is we will maybe create some situations that they can imagine themselves in, so presenting it in a kind of broader framework. We might present some historical information. So for example, with tax, we frame the history of tax, how did taxes develop. We paint a kind of bigger picture around the subject, so it gives them a bit of context that helps them understand it on a slightly deeper level. Maybe we use wordplay, mnemonics, alliteration, something that's going to stick in people's heads. And then the most important thing is, of course, is that they then use that information in their lives. So to try and build positive financial habits, we have this is what we bear in mind as we're creating content. We have a 3-step process of building any kind of habit, which is you start with a routine, then that routine is rewarded, and then you remind them to go back into the routine, and then it positively reinforces itself. So for example, maybe you walk into a coffee shop and you get out your wallet, and that's your routine that you go through, and you might try and think to yourself, okay, every time I take out my wallet, I'm going to remember to add 50p into my savings account. Maybe you have an app that lets you transfer a little bit of money into a savings account. So that would be the routine. The reward would be at the end of the week, that money you've saved up, you're going to buy yourself a fancy dinner, or you're going to take yourself to the cinema. So that would be the reward, and then the reminder is, okay, next time I'm in the coffee shop and I take out my wallet, oh yeah, I'm going to do that routine again, I'm going to add that extra money into my savings account, I'm going to then get rewarded, and so it reinforces itself. So it's a kind of cyclical process. Content updates. So some of the changes you might have seen to our learning platform. One of the most, one of the bigger changes is that we have updated some of the assessments. So when you log into our learning platform and you go through the quiz questions, what you'll see is now, we'll do a quick demonstration. Coming from a primary teaching background, it wouldn't be the same unless we did some sort of engaging kind of activity. So we're going to get you guys chatting a little bit. But just to frame this activity, how we previously assessed would be if you asked a question and you got that question right, you'd be told it was correct. If you got that question wrong, you'd be told it was wrong. And that's helpful, but what we're trying to do is develop that just a little bit more deeply into how we actually give learners more with each of those assessments. So what we're going to do is do a quick game. Lex is not going to look at the boards because that would give it away. And we're going to do a game called 21 Questions. And how this works is we're going to do this from the point of view of our the past way that we assessed. So I am going to be the act as the expert in the scenario. I'm going to think of a famous person, and okay, so I've got someone in my head, and Lexi's going to try and figure out who that famous person is by asking me yes or no questions. So all I can say to Lexi is yes or no, and she has 21 questions to get there, and if we're struggling next, I might just cut it. See how far we get. All right, I'm going to put the person on the board for the benefit of the audience. Or I aim to. There he is. Oh.
All right.
There they are. There they are.
Is he male?
There they are. Yes. James, maybe you want to stand a little bit. I'm not sure I trust. Male, British, yes.
Actor?
No.
Sportsman?
Yes.
Team sport?
No.
For the benefit of the audience, Lexi actually is a sports fan. So it's not like a weird privacy.
I did this morning. She's going in blind. Right, we're at 5 questions. We'll give you a couple more and then
we'll. Ball sport?
Yes.
Okay, tennis.
Yes.
Current player?
No.
Oh. Not British, male, not current.
We'll give you one more and then we'll let everyone else have a go. You could take a stab.
All right.
At it if you're feeling
Only
good.
one I know. Does he do commentary?
Yes.
Tim Hebman.
All right. 10 questions to get there. Okay, so with people at your table, maybe someone sitting next to you, if you guys want to give this a quick go, just to see how it feels when you're only getting told yes or no to your answers, and we'll give you a couple of minutes just to have a chance to try. Just a quick show of hands up, who managed to figure out the person and within the 21 question limit. Hands high, raise them high, folks. All right, not too bad. Okay, so that's how we used to run our assessments within the system. And what we do now is we have updated how this process works. So not only do we say whether an answer is right or wrong, we also give a little bit more information to try and impact on that learning a little bit, to give users just a little bit more to reinforce what it is they've learned. So we're just going to do this again, one more round. Only this time, not only am I going to say whether an answer is right or wrong, I'm going to give Lexi a little bit more information. So to try and feed her a little bit more information regardless of whether she's correct or if she's incorrect. If she's incorrect, obviously the aim is to get her towards the correct answer. So we're not just saying to a user, okay, no, you're wrong. We're saying, no, you're wrong. Here's something that's going to help you make sure you get that correct next time. So same again, Lexi, no peeking. Right. And okay, there's a person. Could be male or female. And I'll leave that to you to figure out.
All right. Are they male?
Yes, they are an Austrian male.
Austrian male. Are they an actor?
Oh, yes, they are. They're an actor, and they are famous for starring in action movies.
Okay. What's it called?
That's the game. That is the game.
Right.
He's an Austrian action movies. You looked.
Because I said
Oh,
it.
sorry.
I'm not cheating.
I wasn't
promise.
listening. All right, nice. 3 questions.
Yeah.
Oh, good job. Okay,
Austrian.
Wow, yeah, round of applause. So as you can see, when Lexi was given a little bit more information, she's able to get that answer correctly more quickly. So we'll maybe run this a little bit quicker, just like maybe 30 seconds. If you want to try this again to get a feel for it yourselves, with the person you're sitting next to, one more round, super quick. One of you an expert, one of you guesser, giving a little bit more information. Okay, off you go. Okay, quick show of hands. How many people managed to get the correct answer on this occasion? Let's have, can we maybe a little bit higher? Awesome. All right, so that looks to me around like 90% maybe of people who were doing it managed to actually get to the correct answer this time. So how this looks on our learning platform is not only now do we say whether an answer was correct or incorrect, we say it was incorrect because, oh, actually this is why it was incorrect. So we explain the answers that we're giving, or the responses that we're giving to users' answers. And the same thing happens when an answer is correct. we explain, we say, okay, yeah, great job, that was correct, so we positively reinforce it, and then we also say, here's a little bit more information to try and reinforce that learning and maybe take it a little step further. So in addition, on our learning platform now, when a user goes into a lesson, what they'll see is the lesson and then a specific set of resources for that lesson. And the benefit of this is not only do we give them a little bit more information, again, we describe the point of the resource, why it is it's going to be helpful, but also now when they move on to the next lesson, the next set of resources will update and it will be more relevant to the user on a lesson by lesson basis.